For decades, the prevailing narrative surrounding male sexual health after 60 has been one of inevitable decline, a slow surrender to diminishing returns, often met with pharmaceutical solutions that come with their own baggage of side effects and psychological dependence. Yet, what if this narrative obscures a fundamental truth? What if the capacity for firm, reliable erections isn't something external to be acquired, but an inherent potential lying dormant within your own physiology, simply awaiting the right key to unlock it? Imagine achieving this without swallowing a single pill, without navigating complex medical regimens, and without exposing yourself to unwanted adverse reactions. It might sound counterintuitive, perhaps even fantastical, given the constant bombardment of messages suggesting otherwise. Yet, after dedicating over 30 years of my medical practice to helping men rediscover their sexual vitality and confidence, I can state unequivocally that the body, in its profound wisdom, often harbors the most potent solutions we've overlooked in our rush towards modern interventions. I'm Dr. Clara John, and my journey through urology and men's health has been defined by witnessing countless transformations that stemmed not from external chemicals, but from reawakening the body's innate capabilities. This is especially pertinent when we talk about harnessing your natural, physiological ability to achieve and sustain erections strong enough for fulfilling intimacy. Today, I'm compelled to share with you a revelation that remains largely unknown to the vast majority of men navigating their 60s, 70s, and beyond. It involves 3 specific, easily accessible points on your own body. When stimulated gently through a technique known as tapping, performed in the quiet moments preceding intimacy, these points act as potent catalysts. They help awaken your primal arousal circuitry, significantly enhance blood flow specifically directed towards the penile tissues, and facilitate the emergence of rock-hard, sustainable erections through purely natural, physiological mechanisms. The beauty lies in its simplicity, its cost-free, and its foundation in both ancient healing traditions like acupressure and the emerging understanding of neurovascular physiology in modern science. It's a convergence of timeless wisdom and contemporary validation. And yet, tragically, most men over 60 live out their entire lives completely unaware of this potent resource residing literally at their fingertips. Within the next few minutes, I will guide you meticulously, step by step, through the precise location of these potent points. I will demonstrate exactly how to tap them effectively, the rhythm, the pressure, the intention. I will clarify the optimal timing, when in relation to intimacy this practice yields the best results. And crucially, I will explain the underlying physiology, why this seemingly simple act triggers such a profound cascade of beneficial effects within your nervous and vascular systems. You require nothing more than your own 2 hands and a few minutes of focused tranquility before connecting with your partner. Furthermore, I will unveil a specific 90-second ritual, a seamless integration of these points, that I've taught to numerous patients. These were men who stood on the precipice of resigning themselves to a life devoid of sexual intimacy, burdened by frustration and a sense of eroded masculinity. The consistent feedback reveals how this small, non-invasive change didn't just improve erectile function, it reignited a deep-seated desire, restored functional capability, and perhaps most importantly, rebuilt a foundation of profound self-respect and confidence that permeated far beyond the bedroom. Now, before we delve into the precise locations and techniques for tapping these powerful points, it's essential we pause to build a robust understanding of why this method works so effectively. Grasping the physiological mechanisms at play isn't merely academic, it fosters belief rooted in knowledge. When you comprehend what's unfolding within your own nervous system and circulatory pathways, you move beyond passive hope into active participation. You become more intimately connected to the process, transforming it from a mechanical routine into a conscious dialogue with your body. The reality is, as we age, particularly crossing the threshold of 60, our bodies undergo complex shifts that alter their response to sexual stimuli. It's a multifaceted issue, far more intricate than simplistic narratives about declining testosterone levels or waning libido. The core challenge often resides in the intricate interplay between your nervous system, your cardiovascular efficiency, specifically microcirculation, and your baseline stress levels, and how these factors converge during those critical moments leading up to and during intimacy. This confluence is precisely where the targeted stimulation of acupressure points through tapping exerts its remarkable power. By applying gentle, rhythmic pressure to these specific neural gateways, you send a potent biosignal deep into your autonomic nervous system. This signal essentially communicates, safety detected, threat minimized, initiate relaxation protocol, divert blood flow to essential arousal zones. It's akin to flipping a fundamental biological switch, transitioning your entire system out of the high alert, fight or flight, sympathetic state, dominated by stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and into the rest and digest, parasympathetic state, governed by calming neurotransmitters like acetylcholine. This parasympathetic dominance is the absolute prerequisite for the vasodilation, blood vessel widening, and smooth muscle relaxation necessary for robust erectile function. Stress is the antithesis of arousal. It constricts blood vessels and diverts blood away from non-essential functions, like sexual response, towards core survival muscles. Tapping bypasses the noise, directly engaging the parasympathetic network, creating the optimal internal environment for blood to surge into the corpora cavernosa of the penis. It achieves this profound shift pharmacologically. No drugs, no systemic side effects, just leveraging your body's own communication pathways. I've observed men who wrestled with dysfunction for years experience tangible shifts, often within just a few applications of this technique. They reported feeling more responsive, more attuned to sensation, more vibrantly alive, and significantly more confident. This transformation wasn't due to a sudden hormonal surge, but because their bodies were finally being given the correct signal to perform the function they were inherently designed for, unimpeded by chronic stress or neurological static. Now, let's delve deeper into the scientific, neurological, and physical foundations that explain why stimulating these three specific points can be so transformative for achieving firmer, more reliable erections, effectively circumventing the need for medication in many cases. The efficacy of tapping specific acupressure points to enhance erectile function isn't magic. It's grounded in well-established principles of neurophysiology and vascular biology. To fully appreciate its potential, especially for men over 60, we need to dissect the key physiological challenges of aging in this context and how targeted stimulation intervenes. Firstly, vascular health undergoes significant changes with age. The endothelium, the delicate lining of blood vessels, becomes less efficient at producing nitric oxide, NO, the master signaling molecule responsible for triggering vasodilation. This is compounded by increased arterial stiffness, arteriosclerosis, and potential microvascular damage, often linked to conditions like hypertension or diabetes, which are more prevalent later in life. Reduced NO bioavailability means the smooth muscle in the penile arteries doesn't relax as effectively, restricting the crucial blood inflow necessary for an erection. Simultaneously, the veins responsible for trapping blood within the penis during an erection may become less competent, leading to leakage and difficulty sustaining firmness. Secondly, the nervous system's role is paramount and also vulnerable. Neural pathways responsible for sexual arousal and the erectile reflex can become less sensitive or slower to conduct signals due to age-related changes, minor nerve damage, neuropathy, or simply the dampening effect of chronic stress. The autonomic nervous system balance tips more easily towards the sympathetic, fight or flight, dominance as we age, partly due to accumulated life stressors and partly due to physiological shifts. This sympathetic state actively inhibits the parasympathetic response needed for erection. It constricts blood vessels and prioritizes survival over reproduction. Thirdly, hormonal shifts, while often overemphasized, play a supporting role. Testosterone levels do generally decline gradually with age, which can influence libido, mood, and potentially some aspects of erectile tissue health. However, it's crucial to understand that low testosterone is rarely the sole cause of erectile dysfunction, ED, in older men. It usually interacts with the vascular and neurological factors mentioned above. Other hormones, like cortisol, the stress hormone, become more problematic when chronically elevated, further suppressing testosterone and exacerbating sympathetic nervous system activity. Finally, psychological and psychosocial factors are inextricably linked. Performance anxiety, a common consequence of previous difficulties, creates a vicious cycle. Worry triggers stress, sympathetic activation, which directly inhibits erection, leading to failure, which fuels more anxiety for the next encounter. Body image concerns, relationship dynamics, depression, and the cumulative psychological weight of aging itself can all contribute to a mental environment hostile to sexual arousal. Tapping intervenes precisely at these pressure points, pun intended. Acupressure points are understood in traditional medicine as loci of concentrated energy, qi, but modern research suggests they correspond to areas rich in nerve endings, close to major neural pathways, like spinal nerve roots or peripheral nerve bundles, near vascular structures, or within facial planes, the connective tissue web that permeates the body and has its own signaling properties. Stimulating these points through tapping or pressure. 1. Modulates the autonomic nervous system. This is arguably the most significant mechanism. Gentle, rhythmic stimulation of specific points has been shown in studies, using measures like heart rate variability, to promote a shift towards parasympathetic dominance. This directly counteracts the stress-induced sympathetic overdrive, creating the calm physiological state essential for erection. It lowers cortisol, steadies heart rate, and allows blood vessels to relax. 2. Enhances nitric oxide bioavailability. Stimulation of certain points may trigger local and potentially systemic release of substances that improve endothelial function and NO production. Improved NO availability directly facilitates the vasodilation required for penile blood inflow. 3. Improves microcirculation. The mechanical action of tapping, combined with neurological effects, can enhance blood flow locally and potentially systemically. Better microcirculation ensures efficient delivery of oxygen and nutrients to penile tissues and supports the health of the endothelium and nerves. 4. Reduces pain and muscle tension. Some points, particularly those in the pelvic floor or lower abdomen, can help release chronic muscular tension that might be impinging on nerves or blood vessels crucial for erectile function. Tapping can also have a mild analgesic effect, reducing any subconscious discomfort that might interfere with arousal. 5. Promotes relaxation and reduces anxiety. The focused act of tapping, combined with conscious breathing, acts as a mindfulness practice. It draws attention away from anxious thoughts and into bodily sensation, breaking the cycle of performance anxiety. The neurological shift towards calm further reinforces this psychological benefit. 6. Potential hormonal modulation. While less direct, reducing chronic stress, lower cortisol, through regular tapping can create a more favorable environment for testosterone production and utilization. The overall improvement in well-being and reduced anxiety also positively impacts libido. Therefore, tapping specific acupressure points isn't a single bullet solution, but a multi-pronged physiological intervention. It addresses the core triad of age-related ED contributors: vascular inefficiency, neurological imbalance, autonomic dysregulation, and stress/anxiety. It leverages the body's own signaling systems to create the optimal internal conditions for blood flow to occur naturally and efficiently when arousal is present. It's about removing the physiological brakes that aging and stress have applied, allowing your innate capacity for erection to express itself fully. My initial skepticism, rooted in a conventional Western medical education that prioritized pharmaceuticals and surgical interventions, was gradually eroded by the consistent, positive reports from patients who had tried everything else. Their experiences, coupled with delving into the physiological rationale and historical context, revealed a profound truth. The most sustainable and side-effect-free solutions often involve harnessing the body's pre-existing, albeit sometimes dormant, repair and regulation systems. The human body possesses an innate wiring for intimacy, a complex but elegant system designed for connection and pleasure. However, like any intricate system exposed to decades of wear, environmental stress, and biochemical shifts, this wiring can develop frayed connections, sluggish pathways, or become overridden by more dominant, survival signals. Blood flow, the literal lifeblood of an erection, naturally slows its pace. Nerve endings may lose some sensitivity or transmit signals less efficiently. Crucially, the cumulative burden of stress, financial worries, health concerns, loss, societal pressures, takes an increasingly heavy toll on the nervous system, making it harder to transition into the relaxed state necessary for sexual function. It's tragically common for men traversing their 60s and beyond to internalize these changes, whispering to themselves, "Perhaps this is just the natural order now. Maybe this is my reality." But this resignation is neither inevitable nor biologically absolute. The potential for robust function remains, provided you understand how to communicate effectively with your nervous system and gently coax those essential pathways back into optimal operation. Tapping transcends mere physical touch. It's a sophisticated form of biocommunication, a dialogue between your conscious mind, your autonomic nervous system, the unconscious regulator of vital functions, your brain's emotional centers, and your vascular network. When you apply light, rhythmic pressure to these strategically chosen points, you stimulate dense clusters of sensory nerve endings. These nerves act as biological transducers, converting the mechanical stimulus of your touch into electrochemical signals. These signals travel rapidly along neural highways, peripheral nerves to the spinal cord and upwards into the brainstem and higher brain centers, particularly the hypothalamus, a key regulator of the autonomic nervous system and hormonal responses, and the limbic system, the seat of emotion. This neural cascade triggers a specific, beneficial response: the activation and dominance of your parasympathetic nervous system. I often refer to this as the body's green light mode. It's the state where growth, repair, digestion, and crucially, sexual function flourish. Parasympathetic activation sends commands throughout the body. It signals smooth muscles encircling blood vessels to relax, vasodilation, allowing for greater blood flow. It slows and steadies the heart rate. It promotes deep, diaphragmatic breathing. It reduces the secretion of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. It creates a profound sense of internal calm and safety. For sexual function, this shift is non-negotiable. Erections are a parasympathetic event. They simply cannot manifest efficiently when the body is locked in sympathetic fight-or-flight mode, where blood is shunted away from the genitals towards major muscles, heart and lungs, and vessels constrict. Tapping provides a direct, non-pharmacological method to initiate this vital parasympathetic shift. It creates the internal physiological sanctuary where circulation flows freely, nerves fire optimally, and arousal can build unimpeded. The men I've guided through this process, often after years of frustration with other methods, frequently describe a sense of reawakening. They feel more responsive to touch, more alive in their bodies, and more confident in their capabilities. This transformation isn't attributable to a sudden pharmacological boost but to their bodies finally being permitted, through the right neurological signals, to perform the function they were inherently engineered to do. Now, let's translate this understanding into practical application by exploring the first potent point, a veritable powerhouse for unlocking pelvic vitality and directing life-giving blood flow precisely where it's needed most. Astonishingly, most men carry this point with them every single day, utterly unaware of the dormant potential residing just beneath the surface until they learn to intentionally connect with it. I will now reveal its precise location and the optimal method for engaging its power. The first time I introduced this specific point to a patient, a gentleman in his early 70s named Harold, who carried the quiet dignity of someone accustomed to solving problems but was visibly weary from this particular struggle, his reaction was a poignant mix of profound skepticism and a flicker of desperate hope. He looked down, then back at me, his finger tentatively hovering below his navel. "You're telling me," he asked, the disbelief thick in his voice yet undercut by a raw vulnerability, "that I just tap here? That's genuinely all there is to it." I offered a reassuring smile, one honed by decades of encountering that exact question, uttered with the same blend of doubt and yearning. And my answer, grounded in both clinical observation and physiological understanding, remains an unwavering yes. Yes, Harold, it truly can be that elegantly simple. This point, known in traditional Chinese medicine (TCM) as CV6 or Qi, translated as the Sea of Qi, or Sea of Energy, is located approximately 2 finger widths directly below your navel, umbilicus. It resides along the conception vessel, Ren Mai meridian, a central channel believed to govern vitality and reproductive energy in ancient Eastern medical systems. While TCM conceptualizes its power in terms of Qi, modern anatomical understanding provides a compelling parallel. This area sits directly over a critical neurovascular hub. It correlates with the region innervated by the lower thoracic and upper lumbar spinal nerves, T10, L2, which are integral to the autonomic control of pelvic organs and vasculature. Furthermore, it's proximate to the bifurcation of the abdominal aorta into the iliac arteries, major conduits feeding blood to the pelvis and legs. Beneath the surface lie networks of nerves and blood vessels directly linked to the deep pelvic plexus, the very command center coordinating erectile function. When you gently stimulate CV6 through rhythmic tapping, you initiate a cascade. Mechanoreceptors in the skin and underlying fascia are activated, sending signals via sensory nerves to the spinal cord and brain. This input appears to modulate autonomic outflow, specifically promoting parasympathetic tone to the pelvic region. The result: enhanced blood flow is directed towards the lower abdomen and, crucially, the genitalia. This stimulation also helps ease chronic, often subconscious, tension held in the core muscles, the transverse abdominis and pelvic floor, tension that can physically impede blood flow and nerve signaling. But the impact transcends pure physiology. It touches something deeply emotional and psychological. Many men navigating later life carry an invisible weight in this region, a sedimentation of shame, frustration, and silent grief over perceived lost virility. Years of embarrassment, moments of feeling less than, or the quiet erosion of self-respect associated with sexual difficulties often manifest as energetic or emotional holding patterns centered around the lower abdomen and pelvis. When a man like Harold finally connects intentionally with CV6, When he taps rhythmically while consciously breathing and focusing his awareness inward, something subtle yet profound often shifts. He might feel a nascent warmth, a gentle tingling, or simply a sense of release deep within. It's as if something vital, long suppressed or forgotten, begins to stir awake. This reconnection can be incredibly validating, a tangible experience countering years of negative internal narrative. Therefore, I always emphasize to my patients, don't approach this mechanically, like pressing a button. Engage with intention. As your fingertips make contact, visualize energy gathering and circulating in the central reservoir. Imagine oxygen-rich blood flowing freely, nourishing tissues, warming the core. Envision your body remembering its inherent strength and capacity for arousal. Consciously release any held breath or tension with each exhale. Dedicate about 1 minute to tapping CV6. Accompany it with slow, deep diaphragmatic breaths, inhaling calm, exhaling constriction. Pay close attention to the subtle sensations arising within your body. That tingling, that building warmth low in your abdomen? That's the sea of energy, beginning to ripple, then swell. It's a quiet power, deeply rooted, undeniably masculine in its life-affirming force. Remember, you are not forcing an outcome, you are inviting your body's natural state of readiness. You are creating the optimal conditions and signaling permission. Often, this shift from striving to allowing makes the critical difference. Now, while activating this core reservoir of energy is foundational, it's only part of the equation. Even with improved vascular potential, if the mind is besieged by anxiety or racing thoughts during the intimate moment, the entire system can shut down precipitously. This is where the next point becomes indispensable. It anchors and calms, providing the essential counterbalance to rising energy. Its location might surprise you, far from the core, yet profoundly connected to creating the grounded stability necessary for unhindered arousal. Let me guide you to this second vital locus of control and tranquility. George's story remains etched in my memory. At 68, he entered my clinic not primarily complaining of insufficient blood flow, but overwhelmed by a pervasive, intimacy-specific anxiety. His body, he felt, was willing, but his mind was a saboteur. The moment intimacy became a possibility, his thoughts would accelerate into a frantic whirlwind, his heart would pound against his ribs like a trapped bird, and any nascent erection would vanish as if blown away. "It's like my body and my mind are in completely different rooms," he confessed, his voice heavy with frustration and isolation. "And the door between them is slammed shut." This profound disconnect, this hijacking of the moment by the overactive mind, is where the second point, known as K1 or Yongquan, the bubbling spring, revealed its transformative power for George, and can for you too. Located on the sole of each foot, specifically in the depression that forms just behind the ball of the foot when you curl your toes, roughly at the junction of the anterior third and posterior two-thirds of the sole, K1 holds a central place in acupressure and reflexology. While stimulating the sole of the foot for sexual vitality might initially seem incongruous, its mechanism is deeply rooted in neurology and the concept of grounding. As we navigate the later decades, a low-grade chronic state of tension often becomes our unwelcome baseline. Stress accumulates insidiously: daily responsibilities, health concerns, financial pressures, existential reflections, layering upon the nervous system like sediment. When the opportunity for intimacy arises, requiring presence, vulnerability, and calm focus, this accumulated tension can render the nervous system hyperaroused, stuck in a sympathetic state incompatible with sexual function. The mind races, the body tenses, and arousal evaporates. The K1 point acts as a direct line to this overstimulated nervous system. It is a powerful point for grounding and calming. Stimulation here, even through gentle tapping, sends potent signals via the tibial nerve, a major branch of the sciatic nerve, to the sacral plexus and upwards to the brain. This input strongly promotes parasympathetic activation and exerts a profound grounding effect. It signals the entire system: slow down, release the accumulated strain. Be present in this moment. Trust the safety of connection. For George, incorporating a simple ritual of tapping each K1 point for just 20 to 30 seconds per foot in the quiet minutes before potential intimacy became a lifeline. He reported a noticeable deceleration of his racing thoughts. His breathing deepened naturally, moving from his constricted chest down into his belly. Most importantly, a fragile but growing sense of confidence began to replace the dread of anticipation. There's an inherent, almost primal, grounding power in consciously connecting with your feet before sex. It physically and metaphorically draws your awareness downward, away from the chaotic chatter and worry swirling in your head, and into the solidity and strength of your physical being, your connection to the earth, even if metaphorically, and your embodied presence. When you combine the vital energy awakened through CV6 in the lower abdomen with the deep calm and grounding cultivated through K1 on the soles of your feet, you establish a powerful dynamic equilibrium. Energy rises purposefully from the core, while anxiety and mental turbulence dissipate downward, creating a stable, receptive internal platform for arousal. However, for this platform to fully support the transition into intimate connection, a third element is essential. This final point operates from a surprising vantage point, high above the others, and serves as the master integrator, switching the brain itself from a state of tension and distraction to one of focused desire and presence. Allow me to reveal this crucial point and how it completes the circuit. Richard, a thoughtful 72-year-old, articulated a struggle I hear often, though rarely so eloquently. Sitting across from me, his posture steady but his eyes reflecting years of internal conflict, he stated, "Dr. Era, my body, it seems willing enough, or at least not entirely opposed. But my mind simply refuses to follow. It wanders, it doubts, it critiques, it remembers every past falter. It's like there's an invisible wall." His hands rested calmly on his knees, but the depth in his gaze spoke volumes about the silent erosion of confidence and the yearning for uncomplicated connection. For men like Richard, and perhaps resonating with your own experience, this third point isn't merely beneficial, it's often the critical linchpin. Known as GV20 or Bai Hui, translated as 100 convergences or 100 meetings, this point sits precisely at the vertex of the head. You can locate it by drawing an imaginary line from the apex of one ear to the apex of the other over the top of the skull, and another line from the tip of the nose straight back over the crown. GV20 is found at the intersection of these lines, the highest point on the head when standing upright. In traditional systems, it's considered the point where the qi of all the yang meridians converges, a place of immense gathering and regulating power. Modern understanding suggests it sits near the sagittal suture of the skull, an area rich in neural connections, and is associated with influencing the brain's limbic system, emotion center, and cortical activity. Stimulating GV20 through gentle tapping exerts a profound influence on the mental state. The 100 meetings name aptly describes its function. It helps integrate scattered thoughts, quiet mental chatter, and bring a fragmented awareness back into unified focus. When you tap this point, even for a brief 20 to 30 seconds, you're not just stimulating local nerves, you're initiating a cascade that promotes cortical relaxation and shifts brainwave patterns towards calmer, more synchronized states, like alpha waves. This facilitates a moment of stillness, a deep sense of presence, pulling you out of the past or future and anchoring you firmly in the now. The reality for many older men is an undercurrent of persistent mental noise. Worries about health, finances, family, fears of inadequacy or rejection, echoes of past sexual disappointments, the sheer cognitive load of aging. This static accumulates and forms a significant barrier to arousal. Even when the vascular and autonomic conditions are primed, thanks to CV6 and K1, a turbulent mind can instantly override the system, triggering sympathetic inhibition. GV20 directly addresses this cognitive interference. Tapping here acts like a reset button for the overactive cortex. It helps dissolve the wall Richard described. Men report feeling suddenly back in their body, their breath naturally deepening and slowing. The impending intimate moment, previously perceived as a potential minefield of performance pressure, transforms into something inviting, something focused on connection rather than achievement. I personally utilize GV20 tapping during demanding days, not solely for sexual preparation, but as a powerful tool for mental reset, refocusing scattered energy, and reconnecting with a sense of centered calm. When integrated into the sequence with the lower points, CV6 for energy, K1 for grounding, GV20 completes the circuit. It bridges the gap between the awakened pelvic vitality and the grounded physical presence, finally bringing the mind into harmonious alignment. This triad creates a holistic state, energy rising, anxiety grounding, and mental clarity descending. In the context of intimacy, this integrated clarity is transformative. It shifts the focus from isolated performance, a source of immense pressure, to embodied connection. It transmutes anxiety into presence, self-consciousness into shared experience. This mental state is the fertile ground where true arousal flourishes. Now, envision harnessing the synergistic power of all 3 points, CV6, Sea of Energy, awakening core vitality, K1, bubbling spring, establishing grounded calm, and GV20, 100 meetings, bringing mental clarity, and weaving them into a single, flowing practice requiring only about 90 seconds before intimacy. This is the essence of the sequence tap method, a protocol I've refined and taught with remarkable success. Let's explore how to integrate these elements seamlessly for maximum effect. Understanding the individual power of CV6, K1, and GV20 is crucial, but the true transformative potential emerges when they are combined in a specific sequence. This integration creates a synergistic effect greater than the sum of its parts, rapidly shifting the entire neurovascular psychological system into a state optimally primed for natural erectile function and fulfilling intimacy. I call this integrated practice the sequence tap method. Witnessing older men embrace this simple ritual has been one of the most rewarding aspects of my work. It transcends mere technique. It evolves into a profound practice of self-care, self-respect, and reclaiming agency over one's body and pleasure. The method itself is elegantly simple, requiring less than 2 minutes. Yet, within that brief window of focused intention, a significant physiological and psychological realignment occurs. You transition away from rushing or performance anxiety into a space of conscious connection with your breath, with your body sensations, and with the potential of the intimate moment ahead. It cultivates presence, the antidote to the mental noise that so often sabotages arousal. Here's the sequence tap method protocol, designed for ease and flow. 1. Commence with CV6, Sea of Energy, lower abdomen, stand or sit comfortably. Place 2 or 3 fingertips of one hand approximately 2 finger widths below your navel. Begin gentle, rhythmic tapping, not pounding, but firm enough to feel a slight resonance. Aim for about 1 tap per second. Simultaneously, bring your full awareness to this area. Visualize a warm, vital energy gathering and swirling in this central reservoir. Feel any subtle sensations, warmth, tingling, pulsing, or simply a sense of release. Breathe deeply and slowly into your lower belly, allowing it to expand with each inhale and soften with each exhale. Continue tapping and breathing with intention for approximately 30 seconds. As you finish, take one final, slow, deep breath, consciously releasing any residual tension in your abdomen and pelvic floor. 2. Transition to GV20, 100 meetings. Crown of the head, gently move your tapping fingertips to the very top center of your head, GV20. Resume the same rhythmic, gentle tapping. As you tap, visualize the scattered thoughts, worries, and mental chatter dissolving like mist. Imagine a beam of clear, calm light entering through this point, washing through your mind, bringing stillness and focus. Feel your awareness drawing inward and upward, centering you. Breathe steadily and deeply. Continue tapping and focusing on mental clarity for approximately 20 to 30 seconds. Conclude with another slow, deep breath, feeling a sense of quiet focus settling over your mind. 3. Conclude with K1, bubbling spring. Soles of the feet bend slightly or sit to comfortably reach your feet. Using the fingertips of both hands, gently tap the K1 point on the sole of each foot simultaneously, or one foot at a time if easier. Feel the connection to the ground, the solidity beneath you. Visualize any lingering anxiety, nervous energy, or tension draining down through your legs and out through the soles of your feet into the earth. Imagine roots extending from your feet, anchoring you firmly. Breathe deeply, feeling grounded and present in your physical body. Tap each point for approximately 20 to 30 seconds, total about 40 to 60 seconds if doing both together, or 20 to 30 seconds per foot if sequential. Finish with a final, grounding breath, feeling calm, centered, and fully embodied. One patient, a man in his late 60s who had regained not just function but a deep sense of joy and intimacy, captured the essence beautifully. I find myself actually looking forward to those 90 seconds now document. Almost as much as what follows. It makes me feel whole again, like I'm finally back in sync with myself, no longer fighting against my own body or mind. This sentiment is the core of the sequence tap method. It's not a trick or a gimmick aimed solely at mechanical performance. It's a ritual of returning to yourself. It's a way of granting yourself permission to inhabit your body fully, to lead with presence rather than anxiety, and to approach intimacy from a place of confident wholeness. You are reconnecting with the essential masculine core that remains vibrant beneath the layers of age and experience. The man who still deeply desires, who profoundly feels, and who unequivocally deserves pleasure, connection, and respect. To integrate this powerful practice into your life and begin experiencing its benefits consistently, a clear, actionable plan is essential. Let's outline practical steps you can implement starting immediately. Having uncovered the principles and the practice, the power now lies entirely in your hands. You possess knowledge that eludes most men concerning natural pathways to support sexual vitality after 60. The profound beauty of this approach is its accessibility. Every element, each point, every breath, every intentional tap, is an intrinsic part of your being. No prescriptions to fill, no appointments to keep, no shame to navigate. Just you, your conscious awareness, and a few moments of dedicated focus. So, how do you translate this knowledge into tangible results? The answer is immediate, deliberate action. Begin tonight. Resist the temptation to wait for an idealized, stress-free moment that may never arrive. The most potent step is the first one, taken now. Designate just 90 seconds before you retire for the night or, ideally, in the quiet moments preceding potential intimacy with your partner. Follow the sequence tap method precisely as described. CV6, 30 seconds of tapping below the navel, deep breathing, visualizing energy activation. GV20, 20 to 30 seconds of tapping on the crown, deep breathing, focusing on mental stillness. K1, 20 to 30 seconds per foot, or both simultaneously for 40 to 60 seconds, deep breathing, grounding into presence. Crucially, allow your body to respond without judgment or pressure. Release any expectations of immediate, dramatic transformation. Approach it with curiosity rather than demand. This isn't merely about forming a new habit. It's about establishing a personal rhythm, a daily or pre-intimacy ritual that signals your body to return to its natural state of balance and readiness. Think of it with the same regularity as brushing your teeth, a non-negotiable act of self-care. Commit to this practice consistently for the next 7 days. Dedicate these 90 seconds each day, regardless of whether intimacy is anticipated. This consistency is key to retraining your nervous system and reinforcing the new pathways. As you move through this week, cultivate mindful awareness. Pay attention not only to any shifts in physical responsiveness, e.g., ease of arousal, firmness, sustainability, but also, and perhaps more importantly, to subtle emotional and psychological changes. Do you notice a growing sense of calm in anticipation? A flicker of returning confidence? A diminished undercurrent of anxiety? A heightened sense of connection to your body? A resurgence of hopefulness? These shifts are profound victories, signaling that the mind is beginning to rebuild trust in the body's capabilities. When this trust is re-established, the foundation for consistent, reliable function becomes solid. Consider sharing this practice with your partner, if appropriate within your relationship dynamic. Transparency can be incredibly powerful. Many men I've guided found that introducing this ritual opened doors to deeper communication and connection, far beyond the physical act itself. It fostered conversations about desires, anxieties, and shared intimacy that had long been dormant. The simple act of taking 90 seconds for oneself before connection often blossomed into greater emotional intimacy, trust, and mutual affection. What often begins as a solitary physiological technique frequently evolves into a shared language of care and presence. If, after this dedicated week, you begin to sense positive shifts, increased firmness, greater ease of arousal, enhanced staying power, reduced anxiety, a brighter spark of desire, do not stop. This is your body signaling its appreciation for being listened to and supported. Continue the sequence tap method as part of your regular self-care routine. Your body retains the memory of its design for vitality and connection. Your spirit remembers its capacity for pleasure and intimacy. The key was never lost. It simply needed the right touch to turn it in the lock. This journey is about reclaiming not just function, but a fundamental aspect of your identity and well-being. Before we conclude, there's a final, essential truth I feel compelled to share, a message that transcends techniques, pressure points, or physiological explanations. It's a core belief that every man navigating the rich landscape of life after 60 deserves to hear, embrace, and internalize, yet tragically few ever do. If you absorb nothing else from our time together, let this resonate deeply. Your chronological age does not define, diminish, or disqualify your inherent capacity for desire, your potential for physical strength, or your fundamental right to experience deep, satisfying, and joyful intimacy. This is non-negotiable. Too many remarkable men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond have been subtly, persistently convinced by cultural narratives, pharmaceutical marketing, or their own moments of discouragement that their best days, sexually, are irrevocably behind them. That diminishing erections, fading desire, or a sense of lost connection are simply the unavoidable toll exacted by the passage of time. This narrative is not only disempowering, it is fundamentally inaccurate from a holistic health perspective. I categorically reject this limiting belief, and I urge you, with every fiber of my professional conviction and personal respect for your journey, to reject it too. You have now been equipped with knowledge that remains obscure to the majority. You understand the potent synergy of gently stimulating 3 specific neural access points: your lower abdomen, CV6, to awaken core vitality, the soles of your feet, K1, to cultivate grounded calm, and the crown of your head, GV20, to achieve mental clarity. You comprehend how this simple sequence communicates directly with your autonomic nervous system, shifting it from the stress-dominated state that inhibits function into the calm, parasympathetic state that enables it. You see how it facilitates optimal blood flow by signaling relaxation and enhancing the conditions for vasodilation. You recognize how it dismantles the mental barriers of anxiety and distraction, replacing them with presence and focus. This understanding allows your body to perform the function it was designed for, unimpeded by the physiological noise of chronic stress or neurological dysregulation. However, this knowledge extends far beyond mere physiology or technique. This journey is fundamentally about reclaiming your identity. It's about excavating and reviving a vital part of your masculine essence that may have been buried beneath layers of societal expectation, personal disappointment, unspoken shame, or the sheer busyness of life. It's about reconnecting with a part of yourself that inherently longs to feel desired, capable, connected, and vibrantly alive in your physical being. I speak these words not solely from my perspective as a physician who has analyzed blood tests and studied nerve pathways, but as a man who has sat across from hundreds of other men, listening intently to their stories. Stories etched with vulnerability, hope, frustration, and an aching question that often remains unvoiced but echoes loudly in the silence. Is it still possible for me? Has that door closed? My answer, forged in the crucible of these shared experiences and the tangible results witnessed, is an unwavering, resonant no. It is categorically never too late to reconnect with your vitality, to reignite the spark of desire, to experience the profound connection and pleasure that is your birthright, regardless of the number of years you've lived. Whether you are in a long-term partnership, exploring new connections, or focusing on self-discovery, whether you feel sexually active or hesitant, the pivotal factor now is the choice you make in this moment. You possess a scientifically grounded method, the sequence tap. You have a clear, actionable plan, consistent daily practice. And you have your body, a body that is wiser, more resilient, and more adaptable than our youth-obsessed culture often acknowledges. With just a few minutes of quiet, focused intention each day, you can initiate changes within yourself that may profoundly alter your experience of intimacy, confidence, and self-regard. Therefore, I implore you, don't conclude this reading by dwelling on perceived losses or past frustrations. Instead, step away with your attention firmly fixed on what you are now poised to regain. Your innate sexual power. Your embodied presence. Your well-earned pride in your enduring capacity for connection and pleasure. This moment, right now, is your time. Your story of intimacy and vitality is not a concluded volume gathering dust on a shelf. It is an ongoing narrative, and the most resonant, deeply fulfilling chapters may very well await your discovery just beneath the surface, accessible through your own conscious touch. The path forward begins with a tap.